Hey, what is up guys, Reddit man here. I know I was gone for a while, but now I'm back baby. You guys can look forward to daily uploads of the crispiest Reddit content around. Alright, on with today's video. r/AskReddit. What's your funniest personal example of petty revenge? I once had a colleague I hated. He was very condescending and really arrogant, so I put an extra Bluetooth receiver in his computer for a computer mouse and kept the mouse in my drawer. I would just open my drawer and it would mess his shit right up. Kept it going for like 2 months. He was about to murder the world when I thought I better stop. I once pulled this same trick on a co-worker over the course of 6 months. We pulled pranks on each other a lot and I would never mess with it when he was busy. One day he gets fed up and throws his mouse and keyboard on the ground, stomping on them and yelling. Then he looks at me, beet red, and asks if I had anything to do with it. I stare at him shocked, and after a few seconds he breaks down laughing. Turns out he recently found the receiver, and so went and got a broken keyboard and mouse from recycling, so that he could prank me back. I guess you could say, he sure did get his petty revenge on me, cause he really freaked me out. When I was a kid, I got the Sabrina the Teenage Witch handbook. It was full of kiddie experiments and stuff, and was pretty fun. My older sister had upset or annoyed me about something, so I tried out one of the tricks from the book. You fill a cup with water and some corn kernels, put some tinfoil on top of the cup. The kernels eventually pop, and it makes noise against the tinfoil. I put it under her bed. It takes a few days to work, so I completely forgot about it until one night I woke up to my 2 sisters whispering. It had popped in the middle of the night and she thought there was a rat under her bed. I used to buy small treat bags of gourmet cookies from a local bakery a few years ago. I would eat maybe one a day, but they were a treat for me. Back then my husband and I had a retail store and a few friends that would hang out at the store. It was kind of a lounge too. Well, my husband and our friends, most were guys, would just help themselves. But they had no self-control, nor would they even ask for some. I would buy the bag of cookies for me, and they'd be gone. I would try to hide them but couldn't. So I bagged up a bunch of dog treats that the local pet food store had that looked very close to cookies for people, and were all about the same size as the ones I bought from the bakery. I placed them where all the guys could see them, and waited. Yep, they tried them, asked if they were a bad batch or maybe the bakery missed an ingredient or 2 in the dough. I waited till they tried to eat more than 3 each, then told them they were dog treats. They never touched my cookies again. Okay, this one is pretty gross, but growing up in a house of only girls, personal space does not exist. We used to bathe in front of each other, and even use the bathroom in front of each other. There are no boundaries. My younger sister was notorious for shaving in the tub and not rinsing it out when she was done. Pubes everywhere. One day she was taking a bath and I asked her to rinse when she was done because I planned on taking a bath afterwards. She told me to f off. So I reached in my pants, snipped off a chunk of pubes, tossed them in the tub with her, and walked out. Well, things got a little hairy there. That's actually f***ing hilarious. Good on you for that one. When I was a kid I had a bedwetting problem. I'm not ashamed of this now, as thousands of other kids have had the same problems. At the time however, this was humiliating. My younger brother started telling other kids around school how extensive the issue was. I was mortified. Even after our mother told him to knock it off, he continued. So I decided to level the playing field. The whole handing cup of warm water deal didn't work. I stood over him as he slept one night and pissed on him. The next morning, my mom was horrified and wound up taking a call from my grandmother. I don't know what to do. Now both of them are pissing the bed, she explained, clearly frustrated. After a few more times of framing my brother as a bedwetter, he completely stopped using my embarrassing problem as entertainment. My mom had a fantastic one. She was a language teacher at my high school, and years after I had graduated, she called me kind of upset because a group of guys was trying to make her look dumb. The class was supposed to write one of those team dialogues in Spanish and had a week or so to prepare it, then had to perform it in front of the class. When she called for them to do theirs, they said, "But we already did ours. We are not doing it again." She said, "You definitely didn't do it. I don't have any record of it here, and I would remember it if you had." They refused to do it, insisting they already performed it and that it was her fault she didn't take notes or scores down. She was feeling puzzled and questioning herself when one of the good kids came and said they didn't do it. They were bragging about making you look stupid and threatened the whole class if they told you anything. But please don't tell them I told you this. I don't want any problems with them. These were those stereotypical dumb jock types who everyone was scared of for whatever reason. My mom was really into yoga at the time and got a great idea while meditating. She went in the next day and said, "Boys, I owe you an apology. I found my notes on your presentation and I do remember it. I don't know how I forgot." She went on to describe all the grammatical mistakes they made, that their dialogue hadn't been as long as required, that they didn't include the necessary vocabulary, etc. All made up. She failed them all on the project and they couldn't do a thing about it without admitting they'd made it all up. This happened a while back. Study hall in 8th grade actually. I always brought 2 small sandwiches to school, so I could have one at lunch and one in study hall, since our teacher let us eat in that class. One day as I was about to eat my sandwich, I get up to use the bathroom. As I walk back in the classroom, I see the kid in front of me eating my sandwich. I was pretty annoyed but nothing serious at this point, so I confront him politely, and he denies it completely. I left my sandwich on my desk the next day, just to make sure it was him, and what do you know, it is. So on the 3rd day, I hatched a plan. I put habanero cheese on my sandwich, and then doused it all in ghost pepper sauce. That shit was everywhere, but it luckily didn't smell spicy. I get to study hall and my plan works flawlessly. I leave my trap sandwich on my desk, and get up to use the restroom. This time I take as long as I can, and end up wandering the halls of the school. I did this because my study hall teacher was anal about the hall pass, and only one guy was allowed to leave the class at a time, even for water. After about 10 minutes I come back into the class, to be greeted by the sandwich thief crying hysterically with a bright red face waiting for the hall pass. He was in the bathroom for the rest of the day. This dude in my accounting class in high school used to ask me for answers to questions, only to spout them to the teacher, like he'd worked them out, thereby looking like a genius and getting credit for my work. One day our teacher comes into class with a pierced tongue and is talking sort of funny. Terry, as his name is, proceeds to use it as a point of conversation. "Hey miss, do you have any other piercings, like your ear?" "No," she responds, thinking he's making an inane conversation. "Would you get your nose pierced?" He keeps asking, just to prolong the time before class starts. As usual he leans over asking for help. What are some other good things to ask her? I was annoyed that he always asked for my help to benefit him, so I thought I'd have some fun. "Labia, ask if she's going to get a labia pierced." "The fuck is a labia?" he says. "Oh, sorry, it means eyebrow. That's like the piercing name for it. Like how a tragus is that nose piercing. Yeah. Oh cool. Hey miss, are you going to get your labia pierced next?" Every girl and especially the teacher in the class looked at him like he was trash, and he tried blaming me, but I brushed it off gracefully. Edit. For those wondering, I'm aware that a tragus piercing is the one in the ear, while the one he thought I was referring to is actually a septum piercing, the one in the nose. Thankfully, he didn't know this, so I used it to my advantage. Back when I was studying engineering, it occurred to me to try and find an app on my iPhone for those Panasonic projectors in lecture rooms. So I get the app and it just let me connect to the one in the class without a password or anything. I have a friend who is one of those perpetual pranksters. You can't leave your PC or bag or food or drink unattended when he's around. So I beam a picture of him onto the projector, so the lecturer is just talking away, and this goofy picture of my mate is on the screen. Lecturer doesn't realize yet. People in the lecture start waking up and giggling a bit. Now I use the pen function and draw a penis on the picture too. Mate was red in the face and trying to hide. Lecturer finally noticed and says, "Michael, why is there a picture of you on the screen?" Finally, for a fleeting moment I actually wrecked that fucker. What? That is absolutely hilarious that there's an app to do that so easily. Seems like a major risk. When I was in high school, one of my classes had this big project at the end. It was worth a substantial part of our grade. You could either work in a group or on your own. The length of the project presentation was determined by the number of people in your group. I was in a group of 3 people, and this one girl was absolutely worthless. We would set up meeting times, but at the last minute she would always come up with an excuse. Same thing when we asked her to do things outside of our meetings. We had 2 months to finish this project, and about a week and a half before it was due, my partner and I had had enough. We went to the professor and showed her all the emails showing our attempts to meet with her and all her excuses. My teacher looks at us and says, "Cut her out. She has to do her own project." I was f***ing thrilled. So much schadenfreude when I broke the news to her. She broke down in hysterics, repeating all her excuses. I flat out told her that we gave her dozens of chances to make it up, and she had still done nothing. "We have permission from our teacher to kick you out. Have fun preparing your own project in a week's time." I was probably a bit harsh, but I was completely done with her shit. Years ago, I had a girl cheat on me with her ex. I never told her I knew, but inevitably broke up a week or two later mutually. I knew full well she would return to her ex immediately. I was bitter, but held it together. A month later, by a complete stroke of luck, her ex bought something online from a friend of mine. I ended up the ex new boyfriend's phone number. A female friend of mine wanted to help me and posed as his side chick and called him and text every night for a week asking when he was going to f her again and to can't wait to see him again when his girlfriend goes to work. I'd listen in, and every call we'd hear my ex in the background going crazy about it, and sometimes she'd even answer the phone. My friend did a terrific job. After a week we decided to up the ante. We drove by her house and his car was parked outside with the windows down. We put a pair of panties in the backseat. A few days later I get a call from my ex who had suddenly decided she wanted to return to me. After a bit of talking she exclaimed that her boyfriend had been cheating on her. Then I turned her down. And then you and the quirky female friend played by a dressed down Alison Brie fell in love, right? Subscribe my guy to the only man on YouTube